Mail-in ballots would lead to voting fraud. Election officials have consistently said that is not true. CNN's Brianna Keeler spoke to two experts about how the vote-by-mail process works.
President Donald Trump has made many baseless and misleading claims, casting doubt on mail-in voting. Here's one.
So we have a new phenomena. It's called mail-in voting.
Not true.
Mail-in voting has been in the United States since the Civil War. We've been doing it for hundreds of years. There are many states that have actually had a majority of their votes cast by mail for decades.
Let's begin here. 5 states conduct elections almost entirely by mail. By CNN's count, 37 states and the District of Columbia allow you to vote by mail without giving an excuse or using the pandemic as your reason. These remaining 8 states, like Texas and New York, do not allow voters to use the pandemic as an excuse to vote by mail. How you get your ballot depends on where you live, too. In light of the pandemic, Vermont, California, the District of Columbia, and New Jersey have joined the original 5 universal mail-in voting states, sending ballots to every registered voter. Others send absentee ballot request forms to voters in the mail. But most Americans must request a ballot be sent to them.
What they're going to do is blanket the state. Anybody that ever walked, frankly, will get one.
Nope. Registered voters. Just registered voters get ballots, and non-citizens are not permitted to register to vote in federal elections. Next.
You look at some of the corruption having to do with universal mail-in voting. Absentee voting is okay. You have to apply. You have to go through a process.
You have to apply for mail-in.
Absentee voting is good.
Absentee voting is done by mail, so it's mail voting. Basically, you'd have similar procedural checks in both cases.
Pause. And now let's rewind to President Trump's most dangerous claim about mail-in voting.
You look at some of the corruption having to do with universal mail-in voting. There is no way you can go through a mail-in vote without massive cheating.
What election officials will tell you of both parties is that voter fraud is extremely rare. It might be counted in the dozens or hundreds of cases out of 150 million ballots cast. It's extremely rare.
Mail-in ballots, you're going to have foreign countries. You talk about foreign countries, they're going to be printing their own ballots.
When a foreign government or anyone else tried to flood the system with fake mail ballots, it would be detected immediately. They would be segregated. They would not be counted. The ballots that go out differ by state. They all use special different paper. They use special different ink. They're usually coded on the outside of the envelope to be matched to a particular voter that they've been sent to. These things would be detected almost instantaneously. It would be one of the clumsiest attempts to interfere with our election. We know the foreign governments are much more sophisticated than that.
Once the ballot arrives, is filled out to the letter, signed and sealed, it is usually mailed or hand-delivered to local election officials. And while the process varies, a team verifies identification envelopes and secures the ballot until it's time to be counted. Generally, votes are counted by a voting machine, while some may be counted by hand.
You have people from different parties, or you have at least 2 people doing the counting and kind of checking each other. So it's hard to kind of run away and just commit blatant fraud.
And last but not least,
I also don't want to have to wait for 3 months and then find out that the ballots are all missing and the election doesn't mean anything. That's what's going to happen, Steve. That's common sense.
No, it's not going to take 3 months to count the ballots, particularly in a presidential race. In fact, his term ends in January, which is less than 3 months after the election. And by the Constitution, a new president would have to take office on January 20th unless President